Let's get back to learning about mechanisms. Hey Brew Crew, welcome back to our Board Game Encyclopedia series. It's been a bit, so in case you forgot, we're going through some common terms, acronyms, and jargon used in the board game hobby and doing our best to explain what they mean. There are two prior videos to this series, one where I talk about some basic fundamental terms that you might run across when you first get into the hobby, and then the second video was part one of our discussion about mechanisms. I'll put the link to both of those in the show notes below. Today, we're going through part two of our list of common and popular board game mechanisms. So let's go ahead and get started. Pattern building. Pattern building typically involves placing game components in a very specific way in order to earn points or trigger actions. Pick up and deliver. Pick up and deliver games involve players using a player piece to traverse a board or map, gaining goods at one location and dropping them off at another location to score points or earn money. Press your luck. Or push your luck. Many people will be familiar with the idea of press your luck from games like blackjack. The core concept is that each turn you have a choice to either take what you've earned or take potentially higher gains, but also a higher risk of some type of unfavorable outcome, often known as busting, which causes you to gain nothing for the turn. Roll or spin and move. Often looked down on by modern hobby gamers due to its use in games like Monopoly, in which you roll a die or spin a spinner and move your player piece that many spaces, always one direction, no more, no less. Older roll and move games typically left you with little to no decisions to make. However, this mechanism is also found in many great modern board games like Jamaica, Camel Up, and Merlin. Route or network building. Players will earn points or benefits by connecting two or more locations on a map or board. Secret unit deployment. In a secret unit deployment game, the nature of a player's pieces, cards, or tokens on the board are known only to the player who placed them. The other players may know what the pieces are, but not where they are, or vice versa. This mechanism can be used to great effect to increase tension and uncertainty in a game. Set collection. This is a popular mechanism found in many games in which the number of points scored for obtaining certain items in the game is conditional upon it being a part of a set of items. There are a lot of variations on set collection, so I won't be able to cover all of them in this video, but some include earning points for collecting a certain number of the same type of item, a certain number of unique items, or the point values may change depending on how many of the item you've collected, like scoring 1 point for the first item, 3 points for the second, 5 points for the third, and so on. Simultaneous action selection. Players choose an action in secret and then reveal at the same time the action that they have chosen. Storytelling. A storytelling game involves players being given some type of prompt and having to create a story, often requiring the inclusion of certain elements. This type of game differs from a narrative game in that a narrative game involves uncovering a story that is provided to you by the game as you progress throughout the game. So, in short, a storytelling game, you create the story. In a narrative game, the story happens to you. Take that. Take that as a game mechanism is some type of action that directly hinders another player's progress towards victory without necessarily eliminating them from the game. This could be causing an opponent to lose points, resources, actions, or abilities, and it's often achieved by playing cards. Tile laying. Many folks are familiar with tile laying as a mechanism thanks to the classic game Carcassonne. Tile laying involves placing tiles in certain configurations in order to score points or gain actions. Often this requires matching up features printed on the tiles in order to trigger these benefits. Time track. The time track is a turn order mechanism in which players have pieces on some sort of pathway, sometimes a straight path, sometimes a circular one, which represents time. The farther forward a piece is, the farther in the future they are considered to be, and the farther back they are, the farther back in time they are. Therefore, a player whose piece is the farthest behind will always take the next turn and then move up. This means it's possible for a person to take multiple turns in a row. Variable player powers. A game with variable player powers grants each player in the game with a certain ability that allows them to break certain game rules. Often these powers are themed to a certain role or faction that the player chooses at the beginning of the game, but they also may be acquired throughout the game. Voting. Voting involves all players collectively deciding the outcome of a scenario. This could be a decision that changes the way the game is played, whether or not to take certain actions, or it could be a decision to restrict or eliminate a player. Worker placement. Worker placement is a type of action selection mechanism in which players will take turns placing a player piece on a space and activating its action. Typically, this also involves blocking that space from another player, although there are some variations which will allow you to use the same action space if you send additional workers, or you may be allowed to bump the workers off of a space, allowing you to take the action, but giving your opponent a worker back with which they can take another action. All right, everybody, that's it for part 2 of our discussion on mechanisms. In the comments below, let me know which one of these is your favorite. And until next time, let's get another round for the table.